youth. He gave me my youth. He gave me my rebirth. We went to Dragonfly. We came out of the catalyst. The caterpillar became a golden butterfly, flapping its iridescent wings in the birth of trance, wafting the gentle breeze of togetherness right over us. And we suddenly realized we had a studio and we could do things like Spongle and Yeti and Infinity Project and working with Chiyoshi and working with Juno Reactor, and everybody was there, and youth gave us all the opportunity, and I bow to youth. Juno Reactor, the enigma of the anima, definitely a strange group to be able to talk about individually or collectively. We did some parties very early on at TIP with them. I played their tracks. I did a party last week. Their music, proton energy drifting through the atmosphere. I remember in Goa you had to make an appointment to hear their tracks. Other groups would just play. You say, no, at 9:30 Juno is going to play Guardian Angel, and you have to be quiet and come and do the pranayam and the bows. Juno was considered the elite group amongst all of us. We were sort of like the beggars. They were sort of like the pashas up there. And Ben Watkins, I mean, what can you say about him? You know, a genius in the wilderness.
Prometheus.
Benji, one of the tallest and one of the nicest guys in the trance scene. I mean, working with Benji is like wearing a comfortable pair of slippers in the bath. I mean, it is unbelievably relaxed. Benji always makes you feel good. He plays all the instruments. Basically, you don't have to do anything except sit on the couch and mumble. And then Benji will get on with it and produce fantastic music, and you get half the royalties. He's an absolute joy. I love going out to meals with Benji. He's got the most beautiful family. Benji and his music is a unique sound in the world of trance. One of the top of the tops. Extreme? Extreme, they're like the Salvation Army. They're sort of like the people who will come and save you. They're the paramedics of the trance. It's like when trance has had an accident, Extreme comes and cleans it up. They have the super kick. They have the uber kick, as they call it. Their kick was like recorded with a donkey kicking a bass drum down a ravine at dawn. And they recorded that on an MP3 and enhanced it with an MP4. Their kick drum was so big they had to keep it in the garage, which they hired. They are, without a doubt, the German masters. They've been at the top since they were at the bottom. They've been making fresh sounds. They always are changing. They're so technical, I don't understand anything they do, but everybody tells me it is the definitive sound of Germany, and I believe it. I'm a great fan of theirs, and I'd pay good money anytime to hear them. And I love Marcus and Jan and Ariel. They're three of the top people in the trance world. Tristan, another tall people. Why is Benji so tall? Simon Posford. Tristan so tall. The big man, they call him. And he is. He is the big man of trance. Just played with him recently in Israel. He played before me. God, I hate playing after Tristan. I mean, he annihilates the crowd, and you have to come up and pick a few crumbs up from the table and see what you can do after the Tristan. He's got this thing with his ears, so he only plays live. I think that's just to get his feet up. It's a brilliant move, and he sits there and he plays his own music, which is really pumping, very unique, very UK. He is one of the giants of the trance scene, and one of the most loveliest people you'll ever met, and so he's wife Vanessa and Edie, and they're a great trance family, and he spreads the joy around the world, and he's again top of the tops. Tristan, we love you. Man with no name, I can barely remember his name. I walked into a record shop in early 90s and I heard the record. I didn't know Martin, and I immediately bought the record, the one with the whistling in it, and I took it home, played it 1,000 times, and then it was a weird, I met a guy who was who was a sannyasi, and all of a sudden I met Martin, and he'd done this track for this guy, and I said, God, Martin, would you do a track with us? He said, if you pay me enough money, I'll do it. I went and borrowed the money from my bank manager, and I gave it to him, and we went in and we started doing music round the corner here, and he was a genius. And I remember going to one of the parties, a concept in dance, Acid, run by Ian St. Paul, and they played 14 of his tracks in one night, and he kept running up and saying, that's another one of my new ones, Sugar Rush, that's another one of my new ones. And I said, gee, is this like a Martin retrospective, Man with No Name? I mean, is this party been designed around you? They've only played 6 Infinity Project. I'm really, you know, jealous. So, Man with No Name, and there's another guy, he's been there from the beginning, the first guy ever, Total Eclipse and Martin were the first people who really played live. I don't mean laptop live. They had a synthesizer, they were playing live, and we used to go to hear them with Dino Passaro, who was 16. We used to go to the clubs in London. Martin would play out his 101 and a couple of other things, and there he was. He was in the world of trance, a true musician and a fabulous guy to be around, and lots of fun. I don't know Yoni well. How do you say his name?
Yoni.
Yeah, I got it right. I've only met him in Japan backstage, but instantly really liked him. And one of those Israeli boys you just want to bring home and feed kneidler and meat soup and chicken soup and with the family, and introduce them to everybody and give them hugs and tell them that you love them, and you haven't even had an E, and you just feel warm towards them, and you like their music but you don't really know anything about it, but you like them because you like them, and you would like anything about them. You like their grandmother and their soup as well. But I'd give him a hug anytime, and I'd dance to him most of the times. Goa Gill, what can you say about Goa Gill? I mean, I could honestly sit here today and fill up 100 hours of tapes of stories of Goa Gill and the experiences I've had with that man with the giant beard and the giant hair. When he was younger, he was one of the leading yogis up in the north of India, and he used to, and he still does, hang out with all these yogic sects, and he's one of the few people that the Indians, the real Brahmins and the real Shivites, when they go to the Kumbh Mela, accept a Westerner, and Gill's one of those few Westerners because he knows all the mantras and he's been there from the beginning, and he's very ultra spiritual, and he brings a different slant on the music. He likes to play his record, I think, is 32 hours, though it was unofficial. The 26 hours I think he did in Sao Paulo, and he injured his back. He had to stop DJing for 6 months because of the strain on his back muscles. But this guy can play the longest sets. Nobody can play longer than Goa Gill. That's what I'll say about Goa Gill. And he taught me just about everything I know at the beginning about trance, and I bow down to Gill. He's a pioneer, so is Ariane's Girl. He's put psychedelic trance on the map, and he certainly had some of the most amazing parties at his house in those early Goa years. We don't even want to talk about what happened in those parties. What can you say about your shadow, or what can you say about the spirit world? There are some people that just can't be put in a box and categorized, because all you can do is rub the magic lamp and let the genie appear and seduce you into an illusion that something is happening. There are certain musicians in the world, shamans, that have come down as celestial, the Indians call them Gandharvas, the celestial musicians that come down to play to God. They're the hand-picked few that will serenade God when he's sort of coming down out of a high trance. And Simon Posford was reborn, I believe, on this earth a little bit of genes of Mozart and Bach in the long Darwinian DNA genealogical thing, but basically he is a rebirth of a celestial musician, and he's come down to entertain us, and he certainly has done that over the last 12 years. There's no one who can be more squidgy, there's no one who can be more squelchy, and there's no one who can be more squidgy, squelchy, squodgy, I guess. But he manages to get music and squash it and compress it and put it into a very small box and then twist it and open up a magic compartment, and a dragon jumps out dressed in a red petticoat and a fluoro tie, explaining you the principles of quantum physics. And this is what Simon can do in one bar of music. Believe me, I've been there. He is a magician. We are just merely the audience participating in some very weird event. That's how I see it.